In this class, let us learn about lines and angles. First, we will see how a line looks like. A line goes endlessly on both sides. So, how do we represent a line? If A and B are 2 points on a line, then we represent this line like this. We write A, B and we put a line like this. See, there are arrow marks on both sides, which means on both sides it is going endlessly. Next is a ray. Where have we heard the word ray? We have heard about the sun's rays, right? It starts from the sun and it goes all over the place. So a ray is also like that. It has one point where it ends, and like this. So it has one end point, but on the other side it just goes on and on. So how do we represent a ray? We write A, B and put arrow only on one side. On the side of A there is no arrow. And the third thing is a line segment. A line segment has 2 endpoints. So that's it. It has 2 endpoints and a definite measurement, 2 centimeter or 3 centimeter or whatever. It has 2 endpoints, and this we represent it as AB with a line on its top. So now line has no endpoints, ray has 1 endpoint and a line segment has 2 endpoints. So now we will see how an angle looks like. Now, an angle is formed when 2 lines or line segment meet at a point. Now, suppose there are 2 line segments here. So, this point where they meet is called the vertex, and GO is an arm and OH is another arm. So, OG and OH are called the arms of an angle, and O is called the vertex of the angle. Now, how do we represent this? We represent this simply by O, or we represent it together with its arms, GO and OH. So, we don't have to write O 2 times. 1 time is enough. So, either we write it as simply O, or we represent it together with its arms. For example, if I say DEF, can you tell me how this will look like? So, this is an angle. What will be its vertex? Its vertex will be E, and what will be its arms? DE and EF. Now, you know how an angle looks like. So just like we human beings, we live next to each other, we live adjacent to each other, or we live opposite to each other. Just like that, the angles also live next to each other. And what conditions do we have to satisfy if somebody lives next to us? We need to have a wall, and one person has to live on one side and the other person has to live on the other side, right? So the angles also do the same thing. Let us see how it works. Now, 2 angles are called adjacent. What does adjacent mean? Adjacent means nearby, right? So you have houses next to yours, right? So how do 2 angles become adjacent? They become adjacent if they have a common arm, then a common vertex, and if the arm which is not common lies on the either side of the common arm. Let us see how it looks like. Suppose we are talking about 2 angles DOG and DOT. Let us see how they look like. Obviously the vertex is O, that is what is coming in the middle. So obviously the vertex is O, and the common arm will be DO, because here also you see a DO, here also you see a DO, right? So this is the common vertex and this is the common arm. So what about the other arm? If they are adjacent, they will lie on either side. This will be DOG and this will be DOT. So see, one common vertex, one common arm, and these lie on the either side. So this is DOG and this is DOT, and these two angles are adjacent. Now I will show you an example where they will share the same vertex, the same arm, but still they will not be adjacent. Now again we will construct this. The common vertex, the one which comes in the middle, the common arm which is this, and so see, they have a common vertex and they have the common arm, but they are not adjacent. Why? Because the non-common arm, they both fall on the same side. So this would be DOG and this is DOT. So that means these two are not adjacent. So it is just like suppose your house, when is somebody your neighbor, when you share a wall and the other person lives on the other side of the wall. You cannot both live on the same side of the wall and be called a neighbor, right? So this is an example where you have a common arm, you have a common vertex, but still it is not adjacent. So this is how adjacent angles look like. Now next we see vertically opposite angles. So just like somebody lives next to you, there will be somebody who lives opposite to you, right? That's the same, it's how it's with the angles. Just like there are some angles who live next to each other, there are some angles who live opposite to each other. Let us see how it is formed. When two lines intersect each other in this, so these two angles are called vertically opposite. Suppose this angle is angle 1 and this angle is angle 2, then angle 1 and angle 2 are said to be vertically opposite. What about these two? Suppose this is 3 and this is 4, then angle 3 and angle 4 are vertically opposite to each other, right? And what about 1 and 3? That is what we learned just now, right? 1 and 3 are adjacent. 1 and 4 are adjacent. 4 and 2 again adjacent. 2 and 3 again adjacent. So only 1 and 2 are vertically opposite and 3 and 4 are vertically opposite. So with this we come to the end of this lesson, and till we meet again, stay safe.